Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Sangat Ji, so we are in this temple here. It's called the Golden Mount Temple in Thailand. And while walking up, we actually met the statues behind us. So in English expressions, you would commonly see them as hear no bad, see no bad, and speak no bad. Guru Nanak Dev Ji in Gurbani tells us the same thing as well. So in the Bani of Asa Diwar, Guru Nanak Dev Ji actually tells us, Manika Sutaka Loga hai, Jeva Sutaka Kud. So Jeva, the tongue that we used to speak, when we speak impurity, what kind of impurity we speak? The chugli, nindya, when we speak out of jealousy of other people. Here this statue is telling us that we should not bring that impurity in our tongue. Guru Nanak Dev Ji tells us as well, Jeva Sutaka Kud. So we're bringing this impurity in our mouth. Next, Guru Sahib tells us, Akhi Sutaka Vekhana Partrya Partanarup. So what impurities do we bring in our eyes? Akhi Sutaka Vekhana. We see with our eyes, but what do we see? Partrya Partanarup. We see other people's wives in a lustful manner. We see other people's sisters in a lustful manner. Guru Sahib is telling us that these are impurities. We should be seeing other people's wives as our sisters, other people's sisters as our younger sisters and mothers. Similar for the Bibia as well, we should be seeing the elders as our fathers, those at the same age as us as our brothers, and those younger than us as our children. Next, Guru Sahib tells us, Kanni Sutaka Kanape, Lai Tabari Khai. Now, Sangat Ji, this is so important. What do we do? What kind of impurities do we bring in our ears? Kanni Sutaka Kanape, Lai Tabari. What is Lai Tabari? It basically means chugli, nindya, gossip that we do of other people. And we hear this gossip, we hear this chugli, nindya. It seems very full of pleasure. It seems very nice when you speak about that, but these are actually impurities that we bring into our ears. And Guru Sahib tells us that don't bring these impurities. What happens? Tanni Sutaka Kanape, Lai Tabari Khai, Nanaka Hansa Admi, Badde Jampur Jai. So Guru Sahib says in the last pankti, Nanaka Hansa Admi. Even though that man could be like a hans, could be so beautiful, like a swan, white in color from the outside, but what happens when we bring these impurities in our senses? Badde Jampur Jai. The Jamdus, the messengers of death, will tie our hands, and they'll bring us to hell because we bring in these impurities into our senses, into our mind. So Sangat Ji, just as these statues are telling us all these messages, Gurbani is telling us the same thing as well. So please forgive me for my mistakes. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. When Guru Nanak was working at the Modi Khana, Nanki and Jairam were a little bit worried, as Nanak never saved anything for himself. When Nanak was not working, he was connecting to God, either singing God's praises or meditating. Jairam and Nanki thought, maybe if we get Nanak married, his focus will shift towards family life. Jairam knew another Patwari, Moolchand Khatri. Moolchand Khatri had a daughter named Sulakhni. Jairam asked for Sulakhni's hand for Nanak. Moolchand Khatri agreed as well. He knew Guru Nanak was working at the Modi Khana and he was at a very good position. Jairam went home and asked Nanak, "Oh Nanak, what do you think about getting married?" Nanak laughed and replied, "I am not against marriage. One can get married and still stay connected to God." Nanak agreed to marry Sulakhni. Nanak refused to follow marriage rituals dictated by the Brahmins of the day. He stated that any time would be auspicious time for the wedding. Guru Nanak said there is no need to cast horoscopes as he is not superstitious, and also Guru Nanak always consistently tried to break old traditions. Upon reaching Batala, Guru Nanak was sitting beside a mudded crooked wall, ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਾ ਕੱਚੀ ਕੰਧ, and he was discussing marriage plans with the Brahmin clergy, and the whole Bharat was resting near and around that wall. And now the bride side got worried. They said, "Oh, this Kand might fall on Guru Nanak Dev Ji." So they sent an older woman to warn Guru Nanak about the Kachi Kand. But Guru Nanak laughed and replied, and he said, "Mata ji, a Kand sadiyan lai nahi digni. This wall will not fall for centuries." The wall is still preserved within the Gurdwara Kand Sahib, and every year celebration is held over there at the day of Guru Nanak's wedding anniversary. On the day of wedding, Guru Nanak refused to take 7 rounds around the sacred fire. Instead, Guru Nanak took 4 rounds. Now, it is said that Guru Nanak said some other words as well on the day of wedding, but they were never recorded. Guru Nanak's Bharat was amazing. On the one hand, there were loads of rich people like Rai Bular. On the other hand, there were loads of poor people and sadhu in Nanak's Bharat. The house of Moolchand, where the actual wedding took place, Gurdwara Dera Sahib was built over there. Bibi Sulakhni gave birth to 2 sons, Sri Chand and Lakshmi Das. Soon after that, Guru Nanak's father found out that even marriage did not divert Guru Nanak's attention from God. He was still meditating. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.